The intellectual property landscape across the UK and Europe is experiencing a profound transformation. Spurred on by rapid technological advancements, changing market demands, and the growing complexity of innovation. Within this dynamic environment, HGF has emerged as a pivotal force, reshaping the delivery of patent and trademark services. Under the leadership of CEO Martin Fish, HGF sets itself apart by challenging traditional norms and embracing a progressive strategy. Martin Fish, CEO of HGF, a very warm welcome to Business Reporter's Best of European Business campaign. Yeah. I want to start off by just understanding a little bit more about HGF. Yeah. Who are you, what you stand for, and how you work?
Well, we see HGF as a thoroughly modern professional services firm. So what does that mean? It actually means that aligning ourselves with the needs of our clients. The intellectual property industry, which is what we're part of, has actually been quite a traditional industry today, but we really want to turn that on its head. So if clients want a firm that really understands their needs, understands how you align their business strategy with their intellectual property portfolio, understands what an investor wants to see in an intellectual property portfolio, then we're the firm to come to. And actually it's having the geographical reach that we have. You know, we have offices across Europe, but also the scale of HGF means that we can give the clients the technology and the specialisms that they need in order to get the best intellectual property portfolios.
You talked about Europe there. So how is innovation evolving across Europe, and how's that impacting the intellectual property industry?
The pace of change is huge compared to anything I've ever seen in my lifetime. What does that mean for clients? It means that they have to be really careful about what it is they protect with their patents or their trademarks, because things are moving so quickly, and you've got to understand where is the investment going to come from to support that innovation. And that's where we come in, that we can help clients really align their protection with how the investment in technology is going. The other thing that we're seeing is a lot of crossover in technology areas. So if you think about, the pharmaceutical industry now, you can't just have a life sciences specialist acting on a matter. You also need somebody who understands AI and electronics. And a firm of our scale can actually combine those two together and create a brilliant team for the clients, which really helps drive it forward. The days of one patent attorney being able to look after your portfolio are completely gone. You need teams of people who are very specialized and actually moving with the times. The technology that we're dealing with today is going to be completely out of date in a few years' time. So you need people and the development of people to actually keep them up to date with all this technology improvement.
So as this innovation accelerates, as you said, what is it that clients are going to be needing from their IP advisors to keep them ahead of the game?
Yeah. So firstly what you need is you need people who understand business. So we take our graduates and we teach them the world of business. So how do we do that? We put in a few years ago bespoke learning and development team, and their whole point is to really equip our attorneys to be aligned with their clients' needs. So just another example, we put people through a mini MBA. So again, they understand the world of a business, because if you don't understand that, how possibly can you help a client to align their strategy with that? We also like people who have worked in industry to join HGF, because when people have worked as a patent attorney or a trademark attorney in a client setting, they really understand what a client needs. So that's another way that we can really add value to our clients.
What about the IP industry itself? How is that evolving and developing, and what kind of mindset and structures do people need to be able to continue with that growth?
I think we're going to see a huge shift in the IP industry over the coming years. It's been an industry that's been very traditional for many years, but actually people are now realizing that some of the traditional structures, such as a partnership structure, isn't always the best way for a business such as ours to be organized. There's a couple of reasons for that. Decision making and change can be very slow to put in through a partnership, because you've got lots of people who are trying to have a say in how things work. So that's one thing. And the second thing is how do you fund expansion, because partnerships are all about taking the profit out every year and giving it to the partners, where our model is we retain the profits in the business so that we can invest in all the good stuff that we're going to need in the future to have the best kind of business. So I think it's going to be a very interesting time for the IP industry to see those businesses that do change and do react, and those that decide that actually they're not going to change with the time. So yeah, lots of change coming.
But you talked there about HGF and your role in the industry and what you're doing. Tell us more about the pillars and the elements that have driven your success over these years.
So first and foremost, it's all about the people. HGF has always been about looking out and getting the best talent we can possibly get into our business, whether that's at trainee level, whether that's on the operations side of the business, or actually whether that's senior people in other organisations who see more opportunity at HGF than their existing firms. So that's one of the main ways in which we've grown our firm, and is one of the ways we will continue to grow. Another way, and our structure allows us to do this more than most of our competitors, is investment in technology. There is going to be such a fundamental shift in those firms who adopt new technologies, most of them AI based, and help them to actually get together a lot better service provision for their clients by using that technology. Another way that we're going to grow and develop in the future is how we use our data. With most successful businesses going forward, what we're going to have to really understand is what data have you got in your business and how are you using that for your clients' benefit. And that's going to be a really big focus of us going forward.
So picking up on those three elements, tech, data and people, how are you using those elements to actually deliver greater value for your clients? How's that transforming into that?
So if you look at the technology piece, there's lots of AI-enabled tools that we can use to really make sure that we're driving the best value for clients. When you look at data, it might sound slightly strange for people not in our industry, but not many IP firms have a CRM system, a client relationship management system. We're putting one of those in so we can make sure we understand our clients' needs and we're able to fulfill those. So really it's just looking out there, what technology is available, making the right decisions and making sure we invest in the right places.
I know one of the things you're particularly proud of is your ownership model and also your governance. Maybe tell us a little bit more about that and how that then translates into offering value and quality for your clients.
So we made the decision roughly around 5 years ago that we really wanted to continue to grow and develop HGF. By then we were already one of the best firms in Europe, and we were really proud of the fact that we're recognised for excellence. But actually, how do you move that forward? How do you continue to scale a business and continue to improve? And that made us look at the business model that we had, which at that time was a partnership model. And we realised that actually in order to move the business forward, we needed to be more agile, which means changing your governance structure, which private equity allowed us to do, but also having the funds and the ability to actually invest in things and actually move things forward. So those were the things that led us to do our deal last year. And what's interesting is that, for an industry that is all about supporting innovation, it is slightly strange that there hasn't been much change in how the IP industry is structured or works for a very, very long time. And what we find now is that our structure is quite aligned to our clients. It also helps that we understand we have a very similar business structure to our clients. And again, that all feeds into being able to give clients advice in a way that we really understand where they're coming from.
We've touched on it a bit already when it comes to people and data and technology, but culture is really at the heart of any organisation.
Absolutely.
What is it about your culture that allows you to support this innovation across Europe?
So we're a very inclusive organisation. One of the most things I've been proud of is when we've done staff surveys, we find out that actually people can be themselves at HGF. And to me, that's what this is all about. You run a brilliant professional services firm by taking the best people, giving them the best tools and giving them the best support so that they can thrive. And that's at the heart of our culture. The people here are really what makes the difference. But then making sure that everything that we do is excellent. And that's another big part of our culture. We've really worked hard to become one of the best and the most well-known IP firms in Europe. And we really want to keep pushing that. I think also what stands out as well, and it's quite clear, we're quite progressive. This is about actually changing how intellectual property is delivered to clients. But actually for me it goes even broader than that. It's actually changing how professional services are delivered to clients, because I think there's lots we can do to align our advice closer with what clients actually need. But that's hopefully gives you a flavour of the culture.
And looking back over the last 3 decades, what would you say are the defining moments of what's given you the level of reputation that you now enjoy? And looking at this 30-year anniversary, what do you think that means to your team, your clients, and for that matter, the wider innovation across Europe?
I think for us, it's a great time just to sit back and reflect on what we've actually achieved. Last year, we got everybody in the organisation together for a conference, and it was fantastic to be able to celebrate all the successes that we've had. But I think then it's thinking, right, what can the next 30 years look like? Let's look at how we can really transform how this industry works. It would be so easy for us to sit back and think we've already made a huge success of our business, which we have. But actually, what can a firm like ours achieve if we really focus on all the things we've said around people, data, technology, and really looking at what the future can hold for a business like ours?
Let's talk more about the future. What excites you most?
What I love is seeing how individuals develop in our organisation, and I want to give everybody here the opportunities that I've had in my career to really progress and grow. So looking at individuals in the business, that really excites me. But then looking at the business as a whole, I would love for us to sit back in 10 years, 15 years time and say, wow, look what we achieved. We managed to change the face, not just of the intellectual property industry, but actually in some way managed to change how professional services are delivered to clients.
Martin Fish, CEO of HGF, thank you very much.
Thank you.